All right, so Unit 4, Lesson 1. So this is a continuation from last week. And we left off looking at how we can represent values. And we're using color coding right now. So yellow for numbers and red for strings. And remember that strings are also surrounded by double quotes. All right. So where we left off last time is we started talking about expressions, and we looked at how we can combine two values using operators. And so we looked at a mathematical expression like 5 minus 1 and saw that we could evaluate that expression to a single value. So in this case, 4. And then we kind of left off on some examples here. So we're gonna pick up right here and walk through some of these examples. And so we can see that the first 4 are all numeric. So we're adding 2 numbers here, we're subtracting 2 numbers here, multiplying and dividing. And so these are pretty simple because this is what we're used to doing every day in math class, right? So we can see that the first one is done for us, 3 plus 4. That's going to evaluate to 7. 5 minus 2 is going to evaluate to 3. 11 times 2 is going to evaluate to 22. And then 10 divided by 2 is going to evaluate to 5. Okay, and now we get to a point where, we don't really do this in math class, right? Where we're adding 2 strings together. And so we can see if we try to add 4, the string 4, F-O-R, plus the string ever, if we combine those two, we can get forever. Okay, so that kind of makes sense, right? But then we get some strange examples here down at the bottom. So now we're seeing, can we combine a string with a number? And so now we see the string gr plus the number 8. So what do you think that's going to be? What do you guess that's going to be? It's going to be, yeah, it's going to be great, but with the number 8, right? So it's going to be a string that has gr8. Yeah, exactly. So notice that even though there's only one string here, the evaluation is going to be in a string itself. So this was a number, but it's going to be treated like a string, and you're going to get gr8. Yeah. And then, so thank you, Carlos, for pointing that out. So at least in JavaScript, which is what technically we're using on code.org, you can only use the plus operator for that in any expression that involves a string. So the minus symbol you can't do subtraction with strings, you can't do multiplication, and you can't do division. Even though you might think, multiplication kind of makes sense. You might be able to do that, but not in JavaScript. So again, you can only use the plus symbol in any expression that involves a string. So what do you think that this last evaluation is going to be? 2 plus day. 2 day, yeah. And remember, it's a string, so we're going to put quotes around it. So 2 day is going to be that last one. Awesome. Okay. So keeping this in mind, we're going to practice. We're going to practice a little bit more. All right. So let me clear my screen here. Clear my drawings, and let's go over to the next slide. So on this next slide, oops, let me get that back there. On this next slide, this is an interactive slide. Okay, so you're going to be able to draw or write on this slide, and I'm putting the Pear Deck link in the chat again in case you're just joining us. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be writing what you think each of these expressions evaluates to in this column here. So 4 plus 5, you would write the answer here, etc. So I'll give you a moment to complete that. So quick reminder, if it is a string, put quotes around it. Okay, so some of you are still writing, but it looks like you're all on the right track. So I'm going to go ahead and display some of your answers. So let's see, 4 plus 5, yep, that's going to be 9. 10 minus 9, that's going to be 1. Tree plus house, perfect, that's going to be tree house. You plus R is going to be your. And then the number 3 plus the string D is going to be the string 3D. Yeah, so everyone pretty much was on the right track for that one. And some of you needed a little reminder, put quotes around your strings, always remember that. So I think the next slide is just the answer key, which we just saw because you all pretty much got that correct. And moving on, now we're going to add another concept to our vocabulary. So we just talked about values, which are things that we were representing with the sticky notes, right? Now we're going to be also talking about variables, which act as a container for values. Okay, so in our model that we're using, we're going to represent variables with a container, a plastic bag, basically, because a plastic bag can hold stuff, right? And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting the values inside of those plastic bags, virtually in this case, to symbolize the fact that variables contain those values. All right. Jose, don't worry if you can't join. You just watch along, okay? All right. So notice that the name of your variables don't actually have quotes. They also cannot have spaces, and the variable names have to start with a letter. They cannot start with a number, okay? So here are some examples. So here we've got a variable represented by this baggie, and the variable's name is zip. You can see that clearly written on the baggie. This variable contains the value, the number value 2. And then we've got another variable here called whoop, and then it contains the string value high. Notice that variables can also be empty. They could, for example, not hold anything. So in this case, we've got this other variable called zip2, and currently it does not contain a value, right? So that's possible. So this is how we're going to be representing variables as we learn about them. So let's take a look at some examples here. So when we are representing variables that take on a value, we could potentially evaluate an expression that is going to use one of those variables, okay? And in that case, if we see an expression like this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace the variable name with the value that it holds. So here we see an example that says 3 plus zip. And so this is not the string zip, this is the actual variable name. So what we're actually saying is 3 plus whatever the value zip has. If we look inside, we see the value that zip has is 5. So this is the same thing as evaluating the expression 3 plus 5, which is going to evaluate to the number 8. 3 plus 5 is 8. Another example is a statement that uses 2 variables. So this says bop plus zip. Again, this is not adding together the strings bop and zip. This is adding together whatever variables these two, or sorry, whatever values these 2 variables have. So bop has high and zip has 5. So bop plus zip is the same thing as high plus 5, which will evaluate to high 5. Okay, so let's check your understanding of this concept. And we're going to go through some examples, but first let's do a very simple example where you're creating a string that is your name. And so you're going to write that string so that it looks like it's stored inside the variable name. And then you're going to create a number value that is your age, and that's going to get stored in the age variable. So I'll give you a moment to write those on this periodic slide. So remember, your name is a string, so it should have quotations around it. All right, looking good. So let's take a look at some of the answers here. So we got Charles. So Charles put his name in quotes, perfect, and then his age as 17. And then Jesus, also name in quotation, so that works, and then age 16. Awesome. All right, so let's take a look at some examples where we evaluate expressions. So we're going to practice evaluating these. And remember, anytime you see a variable name, you're going to replace that variable name with the number that it holds to complete the expression. So for example, this one is 3 times 4, which would be 12. So go ahead and fill out the rest here. All right, looking pretty good. So let me pick a few answers here. Looks like everyone pretty much got it. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to show the solution that one of you came up with. So we went over this one. 3 times boo is going to be the same thing as 3 times 4, which is 12. And then rar plus ep, or ep, is going to be the same thing as b plus ep, the string b plus the string ep. And so that's going to wind up being beep. And then the last one here, rar plus boo, is the same thing as 4 plus b, or I'm sorry, b plus 4. So that's going to be b4. All right, awesome. Let's go ahead and move on. There's our answers, which is the same thing that you all pretty much came up with. So now we're going to start writing programs that control our variables. We're going to stop using the stickies. We're going to start using code. But we're going to still highlight string values with that same color, that light red pinkish color, and numbers with that yellow color to help you kind of remember the difference. So here's a sample of how the code is actually going to look like. So this is JavaScript code, which we use in code.org. And so on the left of your code.org screen, you'll usually see the line number. And then when you're declaring a variable, you're going to start with this keyword var, V-A-R, which stands for variable. And then you're going to put the variable's name. So in this case, this is called pal. Okay, and again, we're going to be still representing these variables with our plastic baggies. So this is a visual representation of what this line of code does. Okay. All right, so here we go. we're also going to be seeing this symbol, this left facing arrow, which is the assignment operator. And so this assign is a fancy name for putting a value inside of that baggie, inside of that variable. So it's assigning a value to a variable. One thing to keep in mind is that variables can only hold one value. So as we're putting sticky values inside of a bag, if there's already a sticky in there, if there's already a value in there, we have to throw that old one away before we reassign our variable a new value. Okay, and we'll walk through an example of what that looks like. So here is an example program, very, very simple 3-line program. So we've got var pow is assigned 3, and then pow is assigned 5. So let's walk through this line by line. So on this very, very first line here, we are just creating a variable called pow. And so visually we can represent this by creating a container or a baggie that is named pow. Okay, it doesn't have anything in it right now. We just created it, no value inside at all. As we go to line 1, now we're actually saying pow is getting assigned the value 3. And so now we can see that inside of our baggie, we have a sticky note with the number 3 on it. So that symbolizes that that variable has that value. And then what do you think is going to happen on line 2? Pow already has this number 3, but now we're going to say pow, you're going to get assigned this number 5. So remember I said if our variable already has a value in there, it's going to have to throw that old one away to take on a new value. Yeah, you're changing the value, exactly. So this old value gets thrown away, and then we're reassigning the pow variable a new value. So we're changing the value, yes. So ultimately, at the end of this program, pow is going to just have this value of 5. Okay, so let's practice. So here is a program that you can run through. You can pretend that this is the, I think it kind of ran out of room because of the pictures here. It should be the space and then best on this line. So run through this program, and as you're doing it, you can be writing the values, and then as the values change, you can erase those values and put the new value. So when you're done, you're going to wind up with the final value of pizza and the final value of tacos. Yum. Okay, I see a lot of you with your answers and pretty much all correct. So let's just run through this program really quickly together to get an idea of how it actually works. So first line creates this variable pizza, so now we have that. First line assigns pizza the value 3. Second line, we're creating this variable tacos, so there that is. But then the third line says, hey, pizza, you're going to get the value yum. So that means we throw this old value away. Bam. And we replace it with that new value of yum, which is a string. And then our last line here says tacos is going to get assigned the string the best. So that's the best. Fit that in there. There we go. All right, so that is the final state of the program because that is the last line. So we're going to wind up with pizza having the value of the string yum and tacos with the value of the string the best. So notice that that 3 value is completely gone. We forgot all about it. It's in the trash. Let's move right along here. And that's our answer key. Clear my drawings. So it's the same thing that we came up with. And now we're going to talk about how we can assign a variable a value using expressions. Because remember, expressions will evaluate to a single value. So we can actually use expressions to assign a variable a value. So in this example, on this first line here, we're creating the variable POW, right? So this is our visual representation. Oops. And then the second part right here, it says POW gets whatever 1 plus 2 is. And so we would have to evaluate this expression. And we know that 1 plus 2 is 3. So that means that POW gets the value of 3. And so we can see that visually here, where our baggie contains the value 3. And the last line says POW is now going to get whatever this evaluates to, 3 plus 4. So we know that 3 plus 4 is 7. So that means we throw away the old value of 3 and now reassign POW to be 3 plus 4, which is 7. So POW is now going to have the value 7. All right, so let's go ahead and see if you can evaluate some of these. So you're going to walk through this program now, and you're going to wind up with 2 final values, one for Zao and one for Fly. So go ahead and give that a try. All right, looks like most of you have gotten it. So let's walk through it really quickly together of how you arrived to that solution. So the first line says create a variable called Zao. So we've got Zao right here. Second one says create a variable called Fly. So we've got that variable here. This line right here says Fly will get whatever this evaluates to. So 2, the string 2 plus the string day is going to create the string 2 day. And so Fly is going to start out with that value in it. And then it says Zao is going to get the evaluation of 4 minus 1. So 4 minus 1 is 3. And then it says Fly, we're going to change your value now. We're going to give you a new value that is 3 times 3. So that's going to be 9. So what that means, we're going to throw this old value away. So today gets thrown away. And instead, now it's going to have the value 9. And then on line 5, it says, Zao, we're going to change your value. We're going to change your value to be 4 plus the string now. So this should be 4 now. So we're going to have to throw this old value, this 3 value away. Let's clear that out. And now we're going to go ahead and put the string 4 now in there. Yeah, Carlos, where'd you get us?
So where you said var Zao and var Fly, like, so like you changed Zao to 3. That's the part that got me confused.
Oh, so this one right here. So this line right here.
Oh, okay.
See how it says Zao is going to get 4 minus 1? Yeah, so that's going to be 3. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my bad. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't see that right.
Yeah, no
I thought it
worries.
was multiplication sign. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's, minus.
Yeah. I was looking from far. Sorry. Yeah.
No worries. Okay, so that will be your final answer. So Zhao is going to have the string 4 now, and then Fly is going to have the number 9. And then your program ends at that point. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. Be sure to ask questions if you're confused at all. And there's our answers, which we came up with. All right, so now we're not even going to highlight our strings anymore, our strings and numbers, because when we program, it's not going to do that for us. We can just use the double quotes around the strings to tell the difference from numbers, okay? So here is an example of a program, and we can see that first we create this kit variable. So there it is. Visually, we see the little baggie with kit on the label. And then on this line here, we're saying kit is going to get the value of 1. So now we see kit containing that value of 1. Line 2 is going to create a new variable called boo. So we're next to kit, we see this new baggie pop up, and it is labeled boo. At this point, it doesn't have anything in it, so it's empty. And then on line 3, we see that boo is going to get whatever kit is at this time. Okay, that's very important. It's whatever kit is at this time. Okay, so at this time, kit is 1. So it's going to be, it's kit plus 1. So it's whatever kit is at this time plus 1. So it's going to be 1 plus 1. Okay, and 1 plus 1 is 2. And so that means that boo is going to get 2. And so right here you see that boo contains the number 2. Okay, on this line we're updating the value of kit. Kit is now going to be 5, so we're throwing away that old value kit had of 1 and updating it to 5. Now notice that boo does not change, because up here on this line 3, this statement was using whatever kit was at that time when we evaluated line 1. It's not going to go back and update it now that we've updated kit. They're not connected. So that's a very important thing to understand. So we wind up with kit being the value of 5, and boo stays at that value of 2. So for our final exercise, you're going to go ahead and run through this program right here. So it has 8 lines, and go ahead and take a stab at that one. Okay, I see some correct answers popping up here as you're finishing this up. So let's walk through it together and see how you arrived at those answers. So let's see here. We got the first line here, which just creates the variable fuzz over here. And then this next line creates the variable clip over here. And at this point, they don't have any values in them. Line number 2 says fuzz is going to get the value 5. So I'm going to go ahead and write 5 there. And then line 3 says clip is going to get fuzz plus 2. So at this point, fuzz is 5. So this is the same thing as 5 plus 2. So that means clip is going to get the value 5 plus 2, which is 7. Okay, Now we're on line 4, and fuzz is going to get what clip is plus 1. So clip at this point is 7. So this is the same thing as 7 plus 1. Fuzz is going to be at this point 8. So I'm going to go ahead and throw away that old value and write in my new one, 8. Okay, and then line 5, clip is now going to get the string gr plus whatever fuzz is. Fuzz right now is 8. So that means that this is going to be the string great. So that means clip is going to get that string now. So let's erase the old value, which was 7. And now we're going to write in the string great. And then here on line 6, we see fuzz is now going to get whatever fuzz is plus 1. So that means that we're going to have 8 plus 1. So that's going to be 9. Okay, so now we can go ahead and throw out that 8 and write in 9. And then on this line here, it says fuzz is going to get whatever fuzz is now, which is 9, plus 1. So that's going to be 10. And so we can throw that old value away and write in our new value. And then the last line says fuzz is going to get whatever fuzz is now, which is 10, plus 1. So that's going to be 11. So we can throw that old value away and write in our new value of 11. And so that's our final answer. Fuzz is going to wind up being the number 11, or containing the number 11, and clip is going to wind up containing the string great, spelled GR8. Okay. So let's go ahead and wrap things up. I clear these drawings. Okay, there's our answers. Here's our key takeaways. So numbers and strings are two different types of values, right? Strings are just sequences of characters. We represent them by putting quotes around them. Expressions evaluate to a single new value. When variables are an expression, just make a copy. Don't change the actual variable. Okay. Variables are assigned a new value, and we saw that symbol, the arrow symbol, meaning assignment. When we have an expression, you want to go ahead and evaluate the expression first, and then assign whatever that value is. So like 1 plus 2, you would evaluate that to 3, and then assign POW that value. Old values are deleted forever. They're just simply replaced and rewritten. And then assignment just moves information around. It does not connect variables. We saw the arrow symbol as our assignment operator, and that's generally what you'll see in what's called pseudocode. So pseudocode is just writing out code in normal English, and you'll see this this arrow symbol meaning assignment. So you'll see that on the AP test. But when we're writing JavaScript on code.org, we're going to be using the equals symbol for that. So instead of seeing fuzz, arrow symbol, fuzz plus 1, you're going to be seeing and writing something like this, fuzz equals fuzz plus 1. Now, in JavaScript, this equal symbol doesn't actually mean equals, it means gets or is assigned. So you would read this as fuzz gets fuzz plus 1, okay? And we'll see this more in the next lesson. All right, to wrap things up, here is some key vocabulary that I'll be adding onto our Quizlet for this unit that I'll write up and share on our classroom. So expression, variable, and assignment operators are all the key vocabulary words that we covered this lesson. And so those are things that you should know. And once again, I'll put that on a Quizlet so you can study. For homework, yay, you thought I maybe forgot about homework. It's actually super easy. It's really quick. It's actually on Google Classroom right now, so I can just go there. And this will be in lieu of your learning journal. This will be your learning journal for this week, is to do this homework assignment. And it is simply just to do the check for understanding on Unit 4, Lesson 1, which looks like this. So it's a multiple choice question. You're gonna run through the code, you're gonna answer the question, and that's it. All right, I think that's it. There are a few people that I want to stick around because they need to finish their test. So let me stop recording.